What are you working on the most?
It started with the mind, right? And just reestablishing belief. I thought that was big. Not that they didn't stop believing, but I think it's one of those things as a coach, you're always, the system works when done right, but the mindset helps you execute the system better. And so thought we reestablished that. That was really good. And then, we've been obviously turning the ball over and lack of defensive rebound. So those are areas, it's simple, that we've got to be able to keep getting better at. And then, defensively, we've made a few adjustments, how we can defend later in shot clocks and certain personnel, just a little tweak here and there. Now that we're not young anymore in terms of experience, we've added a couple things, which is good. But the most important thing, it doesn't matter what offense, defense, if your mind's not right and your energy's not right, those things don't matter. And so we've had 2 really good days of practice. We had 2 days off. It was almost perfect timing to be able to do what? Get away a little bit from each other for a couple days, come back and reestablish those things. And, I'm proud of the guys.
By necessity, you did a little full court press in the last couple games.
Yeah.
Can we see more of that, maybe just to change the tempo? Or because you got the athletes to do it, right?
You know what? It's a great question. I know because it had success at the end. Everybody's like, well, why aren't you pressing more? If you go back in terms of the games that we've played, we've had double-digit leads late against really, really good teams. And so what we've tried to do and get better in teaching these guys is we've recreated situations that we've been in. At Stanford, 48-55, 6 minutes to go, and we're trying to teach them through that and how to finish those games and win and decisions that have to be made, where we want to go. So that's been a lot of fun. Teaching these guys. That's where I think practice has been really, really good. But the tempo thing is real. Sometimes you have to do that. Our half-court traps have been pretty good, and just to try to speed up and try to get some extra possessions. But hopefully we're not in a situation where we have to do that.
With everybody pressing you, they obviously see that as a weakness in your team. What have you done to kind of respond to that?
Well, I think the hardest thing when you deal with pressing, when teams press, zone press, Utah did it a couple times, then we scored against it. The only other team was Oregon. First half, we actually executed it really good. Later, it just wore on us. ASU obviously did it, but we didn't have great energy in that game. And I think what happens is it doesn't allow your point guard to bring it up necessarily. It forces you to have a different guy for a man. And so, we've worked on alternative offense of when we get in those situations of where we can flow into something rather than break it where the point guard is running all the way back up trying to get it, and now it's late shot clock. And so that's what we've worked on. Multiple guys being able to bring the ball up and initiate the offense.
After analyzing the film, do you guys see any benefit in playing more man-to-man defense like you did earlier in the season?
No.
You told us that Jaden was frustrated with his ankle, and he didn't play the last 12 minutes of the last game, which I'm sure frustrated him as well. What are the conversations like?
I think that the frustration is there's 2 different frustrations. Is obviously, you start off the year and it's great, and there's certain plays that you run for certain guys that work. And then what starts happening, what do good coaches and good teams do? They start, the scouting report changes. And so if we're posting them up early like we did against Baylor, now they're defended a certain way, make it tougher to get the ball in those situations. And so there's been a combination of those types of things. I think the ankle thing, not an excuse, but I think it lost a little bit of confidence, right? You don't have the mobility, you're not playing well. It's just, it kind of magnifies a little bit. And so I think getting back to, what's going to work for him now, and don't let that affect him. Don't let that affect me from like the USC game having 6 blocks in the first half, or at Stanford having 16 rebounds. Don't let that affect the side of the ball where you can impact a game as good as anybody. And so it's more so, that's what I've seen is like, you can do this. Don't let this dictate this. I know you're frustrated, but your team needs you to do this too. And so those are the kind of conversations that we have. And he's had 2 great days. And, moving forward for us to win, we got to play as one. You know, you got to. It's the easiest thing to say as a coach. It's the hardest thing to execute. And so offensively, we're moving the ball a little bit better. It needs to keep flowing, but you can't already think, okay, now I'm going to shoot. The defense dictates when what. And that's the problem, I think, with pressing like Oregon or pressing like ASU is you can't, if you're bringing the ball up and now it's 18-17, you can't really call a play to get somebody the ball because that's going to stop the flow. It needs to be able to flow with awareness of where the ball needs to go, if that makes sense.
When people ask you about this 5 technical fouls,
Yeah.
and all season you've defended him, he's a great kid.
Yeah.
How do you marry this great kid with 5 technicals, which most people just don't see that?
Well, it's like say you had a son, right? And your son is, got in school, and I remember my 12-year-old now, or 15-year-old now, he'd probably be mad if I told him the story, but I remember the principal calling me up and he said he's been a disruptor in the class, right? And so I go there and I walk over there and he's in preschool right now. He's got the crayon and he's just crayonning on the thing. And I walk in there, I'm like, buddy, what's going on? And you teach him. He's my son. He's the greatest kid in the world. But he has, he would just do something to get a laugh or to do something to disrupt a little bit. But he's a great kid at heart, and so it's more so the teaching part of it. It's like, son, you can't do this anymore. You're gonna, we're gonna walk home. You're gonna go to bed early. In today's day and world, like, I'm taking your cell phone. I'm not allowing you to go on Friday, Saturday night. That's part of parenting, right? Everybody has the good, and people all make mistakes. Now it goes back to learning those mistakes and trying not to let that happen again. And understanding when you do that, that impacts everybody. So it goes back to my son. Hey, listen, you do that, that disrupts the classroom. And that doesn't allow the teacher to do what? Teach, right? And that's going to spark somebody else doing what? Laughing or doing something else. And so the collateral damage on that. And so we've had talks with J-Mac, and he's such a good kid, and he understands the impact of those. Now it goes back to having a little bit more self-control because he's so competitive.
Is it to a point though where it's, after 3, okay, maybe, but 4 or 5, is it to a point where
Yeah.
any more than you just can't play?
Yeah. I wouldn't go that far, but I think at the end of the day, we're teachers, and so you're going to take something away. Now, if it was malicious and it was intentional, it's intentional, and I'm doing that to do what? Now we have a problem. And so he's a great, if you've known him, he's gotten a bad rep with everybody, and they've kind of already put him in a box like he does this and he does. The kid is an incredible player that has an incredible amount of pressure on him, right? Relieve the pressure, son. Have fun playing this game, right? You can block, you can steal. Don't let this part affect this part, because this part is just as important as winning, and you can impact in a positive way.
You've had Marcus playing for a while now, starting the last game.
Yeah.
What does a next step look like for him down the stretch of this season?
I think Marcus is an incredible offensive player. He's been great at not turning the ball over. He has a pace that makes a coach feel comfortable. At the end of a clock, he has the ability to make a shot, to make a play. If he gets an open shot, it's very consistent. Percentage-wise, it's the best. I think now it's, when he got thrown into the fire, it's like, okay, I know the playbook, but I need to know better, number one. Number two is, okay, now they're pressuring me. The conditioning part of it is another deal that he's dealing with. And then lastly, it's like, okay, who hasn't gotten the ball? You're the quarterback, and so it goes back to when a game is live and you're playing, and they might be playing this. The point guard needs to know where the ball needs to go. If this guy's only got 3 shots and you start seeing him frustrated, we got to try to get him one. That's the management of the game. The talent of the game from not turning it over and being able to score has been high level, especially for a freshman. But that's part of his growth, and he's an incredible kid who keeps getting better and better.
When you look at the film, I think everybody knows that Raekwon can shoot the ball.
Sure.
How's he doing on defense, passing, making decisions?
I think, the good thing about Raekwon is, I hate to say it, this is kind of a joke, this is a John Chaney thing. A bad shot's better than a good turnover, right? Like, you have a chance to score, you have a chance to get an offensive rebound. And now it goes back to, I think, with Ray, he's such a potent shooter. Like, he has no fear. And if he misses 9, he believes he's making the next 9. Now it goes back to, okay, time and score. Okay, you've made 3, you've missed 2. We're down 6. Now we're coming down. You're not taking a 35-foot contested 3. You know, we might have to go inside. We might have to do this. That's part of the learning curve. But I love that about him, that he has this ultimate what. You know, now it goes back to that. Defensively, freshmen are going to make mistakes. And so is he perfect? No. The one thing I will tell you is he works on it every day with Coach Conroy. And number 2, I think he's, if I had to say the top 5 toughest guys on our team, he's in the top 3 or 4. He is a guy, you know, he's been playing with a busted finger on his left hand, diving on loose balls, getting tough rebounds, and he makes his foul shots down the stretch. But the learning curve is shot selection, time and score, and that's what you get with experience and growth.
Now that you've been part of the Wazoo series for
Yeah.
a couple of years,
Yeah.
is there anything extra you say to these guys? They already know what it's all about?
You know what? It's I've known Coach Smith for a long time. Great coach. He's done an incredible job this year. St. Mary's background, obviously, with Randy Bennett, and he's got them believing and playing hard. And you know, they've got a couple Seattle guys, Noah Williams and C.J. Ellaby, and these rivalry games are just incredible because everybody gets excited to play in a high-level arena against competition that is going to play at 110%. You know, going at each other. And so I think our biggest focus right now is just making sure that we're playing our best game and we're focused on playing as one, you know, and then competing at a level like no other. And these guys have done an incredible job of doing that in practice the last couple of days. I think it's probably been the best 2 practices we've probably had in the last month and a half. And so that's always a positive thing for a coach when you see the confidence still there and you see the belief still there and you see the work ethic still there and you sit there and see them wanting to get better and wanting them to grow. And most importantly is understanding that there's a lot to play for. It's real, and that's what I'm so excited about.
Ellaby gets
Last
all
one, guys.
the ink over there. Was Bonton kind of the key to the straw?
He's a big-time player. He's been a great addition to them. He can score. He's disruptive. He's a great defensive player. CJ's a guy that even when we saw him in high school, he can just flat out score. He has no fear, and I love how hard he plays. He's a hard-playing dude, and so it'll be a great challenge for us. The last couple of years, we've had great battles, close games. That's what rivalry games are. Kids want to play in these games, and I'm just excited.